As you know, in this country, there are 3 vaccines for COVID. One is the Johnson & Johnson. The other are Pfizer and Moderna. Pfizer and Moderna are mRNA vaccines. They're a newer type of vaccine. Johnson & Johnson is a traditional vaccine that using part of the COVID virus. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines use an mRNA sequence of the protein that's on the outside of COVID that causes your body to mount an immune response. So they're different, and their manufacturing is different. With a lot of traditional, not all, but most traditional vaccines, cell lines derived from 2 aborted fetuses are used. One of those cell lines comes from an aborted child from the early 1980s in the United States and California. Another comes from an aborted child from the Netherlands in 1973. And when I say abortion, you immediately think an elective abortion. Someone went in to terminate their pregnancy. We actually don't know. With the California one, maybe so. With the Dutch one, abortion was common in the Netherlands at the time, but it was illegal. And overwhelmingly, those illegal abortions, the fetal lines never made it into scientific research. The ones for scientific research in the 1970s came from either an abortion that was related to saving the life of a mother, or more likely from a miscarriage. We don't know, but the odds are the Dutch one came from a miscarriage because abortion was illegal at the time. That's not to say it didn't happen. It actually happened pretty regularly, but mostly those didn't then get steered into scientific research. An illegal abortion, the fetal tissue didn't get steered into scientific research. Legal abortions did. Those were miscarriages or an actual abortion to save a mother's life. We don't know where they came from. The position of the Catholic Church, which takes this more seriously than any Protestant church, is that we are so far removed in time that we're okay. The further position is that even if you maintain your moral reservation, that with the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines, it is a lie. It is a lie with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines to say that aborted tissue was used in the manufacturing of the vaccines. It is 100% true that fetal tissue cell was used in the manufacture of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It's 100% true. It is 100% lie to say that aborted fetal cells were used for Moderna and Pfizer. Because the manufacturing process of an mRNA vaccine is vastly different, they do not have to use it. Now, that being said, pretty much every medicine on the market is tested against fetal tissue kidney cells. If the fetal tissue kidney cells can process the medicine, you can process the medicine. The Pfizer and the Moderna mRNA vaccines had no fetal tissue cells involved in their manufacturing, but they were tested on the fetal cells of the Netherlands fetal tissue line. The Dutch fetal tissue line, again, most likely came from a miscarriage. We don't really know, but in the early 1970s, where the line comes from, it was illegal to do elective abortions in the Netherlands. They still happened, but rarely did that material get into scientific research. Miscarriages and abortions to save moms were much more common. We now only have 2 existing lines, one from the Netherlands and one from California. The one from California is early 80s. I don't know its genesis. It could very well be an elective abortion. The Netherlands, less likely to be elective. What has happened, though, is that the fetal lines were reproduced over and over and over and over and over and over and over for scientific testing of medicines. So we are now in 2021. The line of cells has been replicated over and over from the 1970s. We are very far removed from the death of that child, which is one reason the Catholic Church says that they're okay morally, that we're not using an aborted fetus to do testing on. We're using the kidney cells of fetal tissue that are generationally removed from the situation. Now, to put this in greater perspective, most major medicines are tested on the kidney fetal tissue cells of these fetal lines, one from the Netherlands, one from California. They don't test them on both. It's one or the other. 30 common medications have used fetal cell lines during research and development. I want to give you some of those medicines you've heard of: acetaminophen, albuterol, aspirin, ibuprofen, Tylenol, Pepto-Bismol, Tums, Lipitor, Synacot, Motrin, Maalox, X-Lax, Benadryl, Sudafed, Preparation H, Claritin, Prilosec, and Zoloft. So if you're upset that the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines were tested on fetal tissue cells derived from a 1970s abortion, you shouldn't take acetaminophen, albuterol, aspirin, ibuprofen, Advil, Tylenol, Pepto-Bismol, Tums, Lipitor, Synacot, Motrin, Maalox, X-Lax, Benadryl, Sudafed, Preparation H, Claritin, Prilosec, or Zoloft, because they actually have more research and development involving fetal tissue lines than the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines. Now, my personal position on this goes back to Joseph in Genesis. What someone meant for ill, God meant for good. And these two children who died, one in the 70s and one in the 1980s, have saved the lives of millions and millions and millions of children and adults. What someone meant for evil, God meant for good. That the evil, if there was an elective abortion, and we don't know that they were, but if they were, the evil that came from the act of elective killing a child, those two children's lives have been used, their cells have now been used to save hundreds of millions of people around the world. With vaccines, with over-the-counter medicines, with life-saving prescription drug treatments. It's not a justification to say go out and do more. We don't need more. There are these two children who died. Again, the one that Pfizer and Moderna were tested on were a fetal tissue line derived from an aborted child from the 1970s in Netherlands when it was illegal to do an elective abortion, which means the odds are it was a miscarriage or an abortion to save the life of a mother, not an elective convenience abortion. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but most likely did not happen. But it was the 1970s. We're now in 2021, continuing to use a line of fetal tissue, the research upon which has saved the lives of hundreds of millions of people. And if you've ever taken an aspirin, a Tylenol, an Advil, a Motrin, Pepto-Bismol, a Prilosec, Tums, you name it, you have been impacted by this child from the Netherlands in its death in the 1970s. Again, what God meant for evil, what someone meant for evil, God meant for good. Or at least he turned an evil act into a life-saving thing for the rest of us. And that's my position. I will not tell you you should have my position. I will just tell you that there is willful disinformation out there claiming that the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines use fetal tissue cells in their development. That is a lie designed to discourage you from getting vaccinated. It is a lie that is not grounded in truth. The truth is that they were tested upon the kidney fetal cells of a line that extends back to the 1970s in the Netherlands, but not a single bit of fetal tissue went into the development or manufacture of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. If you have a moral concern about the Pfizer Moderna vaccine based on abortion, I would tell you you are misguided. There's a legitimate moral concern about the Johnson & Johnson one. But on Pfizer and Moderna, it's just simply not true. I don't understand why. Well, no, I really don't understand why there is such a concerted effort to provide you disinformation and lies to dissuade you from taking a life-saving treatment. I really, I don't, part of me wonders, is this some grand conspiracy of the hard left that they really don't want you to take it so you die and there are less of us and more of them? It's their way to offset the aborting of their youths and not having kids. I don't know. But I will tell you that, yes, people do die from vaccines. It is not very common, including in this case, it's not very common. Yes, there are side effects. There are side effects of many medicines, including these. Are they common? No, they are not common. Would I encourage you to take this vaccine? 1,000% yes. I would encourage you to take the vaccine. If you're not comfortable taking it, I do not want any part in pressuring you or bullying you to take it. In fact, there's a story out today that in Hollywood, they are even beginning to censor actors and actresses who are skeptical. It was amazing to me. Is it Kyle Irving, the NBA player? I forget his first name, Irving, who came out and said he wasn't taking the vaccine because he got COVID. He's got natural immunity. His natural immunity is higher. So why take a vaccine when he's got natural immunity that is higher than with the vaccine? And the media tried not to make eye contact with it until it went viral on the internet. And now they're having to trot out celebrities to attack this guy for saying something that is true because they want you to take the vaccine. I want you to take the vaccine, but not at the expense of truth. And it's remarkable to me how the left in this country and the media elite in this country will savage a young black man who said nothing but truth in order for you to do what they want. There is no reason to have to lie and defame a guy who said nothing but truth. There's no reason to bully you or him. But I do think it's important to be truthful. And I do think it is notable that there are people who do not want you to take the vaccine for reasons I can't fathom, who actually are engaging in a lie and disinformation campaign as much as the left. Neither side should be lying to you. Neither side should be seeding disinformation. And yet both sides are. The hard anti-vaccine crowd and the hard pro-vaccine crowd are both engaged in bullying tactics and disinformation. And I can't fathom why, other than we're at a day and age where each side defines itself by what it's against in the other side. So instead of X and you argue Y, it's X and negative X, the opposite of whatever the other side has. And that is a level of worldliness I seek never to possess. The things of the world hate the things of God, and I would rather be on his team than the world's team. And when you've got two sides in the world fighting with each other and defining each side by what the other side is against, that's not healthy for society. And to the extent you have fallen in that, I hope you pull yourself out of it, because you should not be against something just because the other side is for it, nor should you be for something because the other side is against it. You should try to be reasonable in your approaches and realize life is a little more nuanced than X and negative X. And there's no reason to lie one way or the other about these vaccines.